Hello, mamas. Welcome to Thriving Through Motherhood with Steph. This is the Giving Up the Guilt masterclass, where we're talking about giving up the mom guilt and thriving in our motherhood journey. I am going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys. Can you see it? All right. There we go. All right, so we are talking about mom guilt today, giving up the mom guilt, how to give up the mom guilt and start thriving. So I am Steph Pellish. I am the creator of the Thriving Through Motherhood group, and it's a community that I found because as a mom of 4 kids and as an occupational therapist who primarily works in early intervention and with families in the home, I really saw this need for creating community where moms could come and learn the skills and strategies that they needed to start thriving, to feel really good about themselves and take care of themselves. And I know we've all heard that adage of, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And that is most definitely true. And it also means if mama is happy, then everyone else is happy. So my goal for this group is to show you my thriving journey and to help you start to thrive in your own journey. And working with moms over the last 15 plus years, working with families, I've learned a lot of things that have worked for other families. I've learned a lot of things that have worked for myself. And in the last 2 years with COVID, I know there has been so much separation, so much isolation. And so this community is really a way that I can do my part to show up and bring some more moms together to support them. So thank you for joining me today. We are going to spend our time together today talking about mom guilt, talking about ways that we can work through the mom guilt, because it is always going to show up. There's always going to be something, that little nagging feeling like we should have done something a little bit different or we didn't do it well enough. And so how we deal with it when it comes up and how to really start kicking it to the curb and pushing it aside so that we can thrive in our journey. And then at the end, I will talk about ways that I can support you in your thriving journey, in getting rid of the guilt, and the new community that we're starting. So if that's all right with you, give me a thumbs up and we will go forward. And if you are watching this on the replay, hello to all of you catching it later. And go ahead, if you have questions throughout, go ahead and write them down. And then you can always send me a DM or catch me later in the comments or any questions. So first off, what is mom guilt? We all talk about this. We all, society kind of normalizes mom guilt. It seems to be something that many of us have been taught is normal to feel. And these are the emotions and feelings of guilt in relation to our kids. And guilt is when we feel that we've done something that's not right, whether it's not right for us, not right for the other person. It just feels like it's out of alignment. And so it's this feeling that you aren't showing up as well as you could for your kids. And we could talk about not showing up as well for our husbands either. That's a little bit different. So today we're really focusing on how we are showing up for our kids. And I'll talk about family as well, because that does include your partner or your significant other perhaps, or other people that might be in the house. But primarily today we're talking about our children, whether they are biological, adopted, stepchildren, whatever your own dynamic might look like. So this mom guilt is also having a false expectation of being the perfect mom. And I know that you all understand that there's no such thing as the perfect mom, but I think so often we put this unrealistic expectation on ourselves to be the perfect mom, to show up in the perfect way every time, and to have it all figured out. I was actually listening to a podcast this morning, Jenna Kutcher, and she was talking about how we talk about finding this balance, right? This life work balance. And she talks about she doesn't want balance. She wants to find a blend. And I just thought that was such a beautiful way to think about it, because there's never going to be equal work, equal family, equal community, equal friends, equal self-care, equal all of the things, right? But when we can find a blend, when we can find a mix that works for us, and we can kind of mix those things together, that's when we don't show up as perfect, but we show up as our whole self, and we can bring our whole self forward to our family, to our kids. Mom guilt is also the false notion that other people must be better than you because they seem to have it all figured out. If you are watching if you are scrolling on social media, if you are watching any TV shows, if you are reading books, whatever you might be doing, and you're thinking they have it all figured out, they don't. It's a lie that we tell ourselves to really, it really hinders us. It really holds us back because we think that we're missing something, that we don't understand something, that we don't get something. And that person who's showing up and showing us how easy this thing is, I think what tends to happen is, I'll just talk for myself. When I see somebody showing up with ease doing something that I struggle with, I think, well, I must be doing it wrong. I must not have the keys that they have to figuring out X, Y, and Z. But that same person could be watching me do something that I do with ease and thinking, Steph's got it all figured out. I don't have the tools or the keys to figure out A, B, and C. And so it's really a disservice when we try and show up like other people. We can use the skills and the resources that we learn, or that we learn from other people, or that we see them use to hopefully get somewhere a little bit faster. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But it's really being true to ourselves and not comparing ourselves to other moms or what society thinks a perfect mom should be, because the perfect mom is the mom that's showing up for your kids every day. And that's you. So what do we do with this mommy guilt? I've broken it down into 4 steps that I teach and that I talk about. Priorities, presence and appreciation, assess, and reset. And these are really simple things to do. I really try to keep my strategies simple. And even though they're simple, that doesn't mean that they're easy, because some of this stuff is hard to take the time to find the space to put them into practice. And so we're going to talk about priorities. So if you have been around me for any length of time, have done a class with me, have done a one-on-one, or been in a group with me, you have heard me talk about core values. Core values are something that I started learning about with my life coach, Elena Sanino. And it's now something that I work with all of my mama clients on figuring out what their core values are. Core values are really the things that make us who we are, regardless of the circumstance. We try and narrow it down to 4 words, or 4 values, 4 ideas that really define who we are. And when we can narrow that down, it really helps us to figure out who we are, what's in alignment with us. It helps us to figure out what our priorities are. And so this is something we'll talk about at the end, but in the next group that I'm running, we will be talking about core values. We will be working on core values. And as I said, it's something that I integrate in all of the work that I do with my clients. So once we have those core values, it then helps us to make an assessment or make a decision on how we're going to show up. So I use this example a lot. If I'm saying that family is a core value of mine and a priority of mine, I am going to look at a decision and I'm going to analyze that decision knowing that family is one of my priorities. So, for example, if I have an opportunity this weekend to go visit family, or I have been invited to maybe speak at a work engagement, I can look at my priorities and maybe my family priority has really been not getting the attention that it needs. And even though work might be important, if that's not my priority, I can make a decision based on, you know what, Saturdays are my family time. I'm going to say no to this work engagement. Maybe they can move it to another day where I don't have this opportunity to spend with my family. And so it allows me to make that decision. It also allows me to know that when I make that decision, I'm making that decision with what is best for me. And I know my core values. I know that family is one of my values. So when I show up and say to whoever invited me to this work engagement, no, that doesn't work for me. I have a family engagement already. I'm showing up knowing why I'm saying no. I'm not questioning it. I'm not feeling that guilt. I'm not feeling that questioning of, am I making the right decision? Because I've checked in. I know what my priority is for that moment, for that weekend. And then I spend the weekend with my family. It wasn't a great weekend. And I check in with myself again. I do this reassessment piece and I say, you know what? Maybe I needed a break. Maybe I needed to go do that work event. Next time, maybe I'll say yes. Next time, you know what? We had an amazing weekend as a family. I really want to make sure that I'm giving my family more time on those weekends. I'm going to make sure that the next time I'm asked on a weekend to do something else, I say no because I know how good it felt to show up for my family. And so it's this piece of allowing our priorities to really to live that way, live in what's alignment with us. Because if I say no to that work engagement and yes to my family, I don't need to feel guilty because I've demonstrated a priority. Now, if my priority is financial security and that work engagement is going to bring me clients and money, then I'm going to make a different decision. I'm going to choose to go do that work engagement. And I don't have to feel guilty that I'm missing out on my family time because I know that it's going to, one, give me that security that I'm looking for. Two, I'm also very passionate about my work. So it's going to bring more fulfillment to me so that later when I show up for my family, I'm showing up in the best way, knowing that I did what I needed to do and what was right for me. And in the long term, my family in this moment, but then I'm going to show up for them. And that kind of goes right into the next piece, which is that presence and appreciation. When we are present and we are appreciative, I know this is so talked about everywhere and talked about so much, but it bear it it bears repeating because it is so important. Because if I show up at that work presentation and I'm thinking about what I'm missing at home, if I'm thinking about all of the things that my family might be doing without me, I'm now able to be present and appreciate the fact that I'm giving my family this financial security, or that I'm able to show up for moms, or this community that invited me to speak, or whatever it is that I'm getting in this space. And so if I can be present in that, and I can appreciate that, and I can enjoy that I chose that because that's what I said my priority was, then when I go home, I'm going to feel so much better about showing up for my family, that I can be present with them because I've done what's in alignment. And when we do what's in alignment with us, it makes us feel good. That's part of filling our cup, is staying in our own truth, staying in what's right for us. And so when we can show up and be present and appreciate that presence and appreciate where it is that we're at, this quote from Zig Ziglar, I just thought was a great quote. It's, "Gratitude is the healthiest of all human emotions. The more you express gratitude for what you have, the more likely you will have even more to express gratitude for." And if any of you are familiar with Abraham Hicks, he talks a lot about the frequency of emotions. And so gratitude is one of the highest frequencies of emotions. And so when we want to raise our frequency, we get into this gratitude. And so when we feel this guilt is one of the lowest frequencies, and it makes our whole body, it makes our whole being just kind of feel yucky. And then that brings on more yuckiness and kind of, I don't know about you guys, but it then just kind of starts to swirl around and create more chaos for myself. And so when we can be in gratitude for where we are and what we're doing, and when we're in alignment, those two things together can create this amazing place. And so right now, I would just like to offer you a minute to maybe just put your hands over your heart. Think of something that has happened maybe this morning or today already, or whenever you're watching this in the last 24 hours. And take a moment, maybe take a deep breath or two, and take a moment to just feel that gratitude. Feel the appreciation, maybe for yourself for being here today, for taking the time for yourself, for that hug you got from the kids, for the fact that your kids went to camp today. You know, whatever your day is looking like today, just take a moment and be present, and know that that moment happened because it was in alignment with all of the things that you say you want to be or do as a parent, or as a mom, or as a human. And so then when we look at how we can feel grateful for where we're at, I know so often that feels hard because we don't want to be where we're at. We want to be at the next step. We want to be in the next place. And so here's where we can look at and we can assess. We can step back, kind of like how we talked about with the core values, but we can assess here our behaviors, our actions. We can do almost like a time analysis, but a behavioral analysis on ourselves. If any of you are in psychology or work with kids or adults in the behavior realm, you understand like a behavioral assessment. And behaviors are not necessarily good or bad. They are reactions to a stimulus. And so we are looking at our own behaviors, our own reactions, good or bad, as information. And so we can use this same concept with our decisions. The way I make a decision is a behavior. And recently, Doreen Corba is an amazing coach. She is a mom and a life coach and does all of the things, but she teaches this concept of decision making. And she talks about how when we make decisions, specifically women, we tend to spend all of this time thinking about the decision, thinking about all of the options, all of the things. And then time goes by, we make a decision, and then we go forward to take action on that decision. And she says all of that thinking is a waste of time. Whereas if when we had a decision to make, if we just went with, oh, this is my gut response, let me make the decision and let's go, we're not losing all of that time on that chaos. We're not losing all of that time because we think that by thinking more, we're going to have more of an answer. And the opposite is true. The more we think about it, the more clutter gets created about this decision that we need to make. And so when we can just make the decision and go forward, then at least we've made progress. And then we can use information. If we need to pivot, we can make a pivot, but we've started. Whereas if we're waiting to make that decision, well, now we make a decision and we move forward, but we're a lot further behind and we still might have to pivot because we still may have not made, I don't want to say the right decision because there's never a right decision, but had we just gone with it in the beginning, we could have at least made progress in the meantime. And so this is where giving ourselves the space to look at, all right, that was the decision I made. I'm going to be honest with myself. I said that my family was a priority. I chose to go to that work engagement. I chose to do the speaking engagement. Is that really meeting my priorities? Maybe not. Maybe I got nervous and I really felt like I needed the money to cover something and that this group might help me or this engagement might help me to hopefully get something, some more financial security. But if I'm not saying financial security is a value for me, then I have to be honest with myself of, did I choose this because it was out of fear, or did I choose this because it was in alignment with my priorities and my core values? And then we need to be graceful with ourselves. So we can be honest without judgment. We can give ourselves grace. Okay, I made this decision. Okay, I did this thing. It didn't feel like I thought it would feel. It didn't fill me up the way I thought it would fill me up. It didn't give me that security I thought it would give me. It didn't give me the time with my family I thought it would give me. It didn't give me the benefits that I thought. Instead of judging that and feeling guilt that I made the wrong decision, I can be graceful and remind myself that it's okay to take this information and use it to make my next decision. When we learn that failure and mistakes are part of life and that there's no perfection, that life is actually all about creating more mistakes, creating more failures, that's when we start to thrive. And holding on to guilt is what really holds us back because it's this expectation of no mistakes, perfection. And so many of all of the strategies, all of the skills that I teach are a practice because we are constantly practicing giving up guilt, showing up for our families, showing up for ourselves, letting go of these expectations. It's a practice. It's not something that we will ever get to a final point. And when we make mistakes, it's more about how we learn from those and self-correct than anything else. And here is where we reset. We try again. We use all of that information that we've learned, that we've gained from our behaviors, our actions, our decisions, and we try again. And we go back to say, you know what? I've been saying that financial security is one of my priorities, but when I really look at it, I'm more interested in having fun. I'm more interested in having experience than I am with financial security. So next time, you know, I might need money to have those experiences, but I'm going to really look at what are the things that are in alignment with me for the next time I need to make a decision. And when we show up in this way, when we show up to make these decisions and these behaviors and we stay in alignment, it allows us to get rid of that guilt. It allows us to move through that guilt, hopefully avoid it at all costs. But like I said in the beginning, it is something that's going to show up. There's always going to be something that we wish we did a little bit better, or something that we just didn't have the right resources or the right information, or we were tired, we were whatever it might be. As a mom, there are so many variables and, you know, the best laid plans, right? But I know just for myself, I can make all of these plans and somebody wakes up sick, the sitter cancels, get a flat tire, right? I could do a course and I have a babysitter, but my toddler walks in. There are so many unexpected things with kids that can happen. And being graceful, not only with ourselves, but with them, and allowing our kids to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes, and allowing us to make mistakes and learning from our mistakes. That's really where the guilt moves aside. And so what I am really excited about and what I am doing is I've created this new program, this new group, which is the Giving Up the Guilt program. It is an 8-week program. There will be 4 live Zoom calls. There will be a private online community, a 30-minute one-on-one call with me, which will be in the middle of the program, just to kind of check in, see how you're doing, and give you a little bit of that individual information. And it is a one-time investment of $397. There is also a VIP program, which includes all of the things from the above, as well as the Thriving Mama assessment, which is an assessment I use with a lot of my one-on-one clients. And we look at 10 different areas of their life and where they're thriving and where they really need support. So that's something that I will walk through with anyone who joins the VIP program. And inside of that, there are one-on-one biweekly coaching calls. And then you also have access between calls through, depending what you have, either Voxer or Facebook DM. And that is a one-time investment of $597. The VIP program is by far an amazing value because just the coaching calls alone are worth more than the $597. I would also like to challenge you right now, because I know that when I look at groups, when I look at programs, one of the first things I do is I look at the price, I look at the cost. And if your initial response was, oh, that's a lot of money to spend on myself, or oh, that's a lot of money to spend on a group, I would challenge you that we're giving up the guilt, right? And if you had that thought of that's a lot of money, feeling guilty that you would spend that kind of money on a program for yourself, that you are probably in need of this program. And so I would really encourage you to take a look at this program, take a look at what's included, and see if it's a right fit for you. I would love to talk to you more about it if you think that it might be a right fit for you and you just have some questions. But when we come together in community, when we come together to support each other and have these conversations where we're talking about some of the struggles that we share and how we get through them. I will be teaching, we will be talking, as I mentioned, about core values. So we'll be digging into core values. We'll be digging into those 4 steps that I talked about with giving up the guilt. And it will just be an amazing community. I love leading groups of moms. I love being a part of these groups. And so I would love for anyone who's interested to join me. And I just appreciate your time today. I appreciate that you showed up today, that you were here to find out how to give up the guilt, because I know with so much that's going on in the world right now that there's a lot of heaviness. And guilt, like I said, is one of those lower frequency vibration feelings. And so if we can get rid of some of those lower frequency feelings, emotions for ourselves, it's going to help the whole world. It starts with us, it moves to our family, it goes to our communities. We never know the impact it's going to make, but it's something that I'm trying to do one mama at a time, starting with myself, starting with my family, starting with you guys in my community. And so I'm so appreciative of you watching today, of you being here today. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But otherwise, I hope you have an amazing day, and know that I'm here to support you and ask for what you need. So thanks, guys.